starting the stream live.
Okay.
Recording.
I've got a flashing button saying you're recording here.
1 second. It's going to YouTube. Okay.
Live.
Okay. Now
check.
Live streaming on YouTube. Okay, good.
Okay, we're ready to broadcast?
Yep.
And we're now live. Welcome everybody to another 30-minute talks. The room opens, as we know, 10 minutes to 2. Gives everybody a few minutes to log in, and we look forward to sharing with you another 30-minute talks show today. Welcome, Perry, Andy, and John.
Hi, Alan. It's great to say hello to you from KL, Malaysia. Another beautiful day here in the city, so no complaints here from me this week. John, how are things with you? Looking a bit dark over there at the moment.
Yeah, well, I would be normally talking to you from Barcelona, Spain, but I have now relocated back to Poland, where my wife is from. So greetings from Poznan, Poland. Yeah,
it's good to have an guy on the show. I'm half Polish myself, so half Ukrainian.
Dzień dobry.
Everybody, we know how to do that.
There you go, everybody. As you've just heard, truly an international show. This is the 30-minute talks coming to you today. Don't forget, as with usual, don't forget to use the chat functionality, and feel free to say hello to each other, let each other know where you're from, speak to each other, share some thoughts with us, let us know how you're going. And at the same time, Perry, why don't you say hi and hello to a couple of our academic partners?
Well, look, as always, it's great to have support from our academic partners. So a particular big shout out to our friends at NCUT, National Kaohsiung University of Hospitality and Tourism over in Taiwan, and also to our friends at LPU and UST in the Philippines.
Fantastic. And just so, for those of you that don't know, John is a director of HOSCO, and HOSCO is also one of our academic partners. So thank you very much, John, for your support of the show, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. Great concept you're doing. Keep it up.
And on that note, as usual, we had last week's show with a fantastic presentation from Dr. Sarah Gardner. Andy, why don't you share some of those thoughts with us?
Yeah, actually, last week we had two very excellent ratings last week. Sarah had one of our highest ratings at a 9.6, and there were a lot of positive comments about the topic. And last week we were talking about about tourism and the changes, and she was giving quite a few case studies and examples, which were very good. Everybody liked that part. And I know this week, actually, the 90 seconds that Alan created is based on that topic of tourism again. So we'll look forward to seeing the 90 seconds today. And again, each week we ask the satisfaction for the overall topic. And right now, the most popular topic is what are we going to do during the pandemic, after the pandemic? You know, tourism is still hurting all around the world. Europe had some peaks in the pandemic in the last maybe couple of weeks, but it's starting to go down in some of those countries because of the severe restrictions they're putting in. But the harder the restrictions, the tougher it is for our industry.
Thanks very much, Andy. And yes, thank you very much again to Dr. Sarah Gardner for a very, very interesting show. And Perry, why don't you share with us some of the thoughts from the survey from last week?
Well, look, it's as Andy said, it was great having Sarah join us last week talking about destination recovery. And I think the comments reflect the timeliness of her presentation. As Jeremiah said, very timely webinar. And I was so impressed with the dynamic speakers who brought us from around the globe. So thanks very much. And the other one was a big thank you from Ms. Sarah for a great insights into 30-minute talks, as well as having a great topic every session. Thank you so much. So we really do appreciate those comments and feedback. So it's great to get those. Please keep those coming in. Back to you, Alan.
Fantastic, Perry. And Andy, would you like to finish those off?
Yeah, there's a couple of each session has a great learning within just 90 minutes. I don't know, 90 minutes or 90 seconds, you can acquire new knowledge thanks to 30-minute talks. So maybe we should expand the show to 90 minutes. That's what you need. Fill it in. In every seminar we attended, there's always a lesson that we can get that gives us more knowledge from Ruby at the University of the Visayas. And a shout out to everyone. Hope they're okay after the big typhoons that had hit the Philippines. A lot of our attendees are in the Philippines.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And as Dr. Andy says, we hope that everybody's keeping safe, not only from the pandemic, but there's certainly some challenges with weather and weather patterns around the world at the moment. So we're hoping that all of our participants and regulars to the show are safe, you and your families. And what about academic partners and getting a certificate? Perry, why don't you speak to our participants about how they can get a certificate of attendance?
Well, look, through our academic partner network, you're able to, if you're from a student from one of the institutions that's one of our academic partners, you can get a certificate of attendance. So it's available to those of you, as I said, just from our academic partners. So if your institution isn't one, then you know who to go and to talk to. Each week, what you need to do is to use the QR code, which we will put at the end of the show. You need to complete the survey, which has to be done by noon Friday afternoon. And we'll then email to you a survey, survey will be emailed to you for your attendance at that. So again, we do need some input from you about your 3 key learnings. So don't forget, you will need to provide us with that. Alan.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks very much for that, Perry. We also want to acknowledge the great work of the academic partners and the actual certificate. It's looking very colourful and very fancy nowadays, with 18 different academic partners that are on the certificate. And also, just a quick note, if you struggled to get a copy of the certificate of attendance last week, please don't worry. There was a little bit of a glitch, a technical glitch with providing that, and we're working on those certificates if you haven't received one. So we'll sort that out this week if you haven't received one. All you need to do is send us an email. And on that note, everybody, we've got another poll for today. Let's have a look at the questions. Andy, why don't you talk us through what you've set up for today?
Yeah, I know. John is going to talk about some human resources and online jobs. So I figured that today's poll should be, which of the following methods, which of these methods will you be using to find your first job after school? And so, of course, the first one is the best one. My parents will hire me to run the family business. No worries. That's a good one. I will be creating my resume soon. And if you don't have one, that's interesting. I plan to go to hotels and apply for jobs in person. So you'll be driving around trying to find a hotel job. I will use an online job search website. Online is the way to go these days. And I have my online profile done and will be promoting myself to every company that meets my personal requirements. So some typical concerns about a student. Where are you on this list, and how are you going to get a job? Because it's not going to get any easier to get a job under the current conditions. So those who plan ahead, get ready, are going to be ready to go. Right, John? What do you think? Which one do you like, John?
Well, online is the way to be. So I would push for online, but you can't discount the whole grit. Get on the road, make some connections, and make sure you network. It's not always all online.
Absolutely.
Getting involved with attending events, getting some extra jobs, working part-time, whatever you can do to shake hands with people in the industry is always a good way to develop that network. I agree with that. And we got
I said to someone the other day, any job is good right now. It keeps you off the couch. It gets you into an environment. And in that way, you're networking with peers and maybe also guests. So anything is good right now. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes. Thanks very much, Dr. Andy, and also John, for your thoughts there. It looks like the majority of our respondents are agreeing with both of you. I have my online profile done and will be promoting myself to every company that meets my personal requirements. So that looks where most people are responding at the moment. We'll run the poll for a few more seconds, everybody. Finish up your answering if you haven't already done so, and we'll share the results in a few seconds.
No, nobody said that their parents are going to hire them. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm not sure.
There we go. We've ended the poll, and it looks like the winner was, well, in fact, we've got a tie. I plan to go to hotels and apply for jobs in person, and I'll have my online profile done and will be promoting myself to every company that meets my personal requirements. Thank you everybody for sharing your thoughts with us today. And as we know, this poll links nicely into the presentation that John will be sharing with us very shortly. And just as we get ourselves ready for the show, a quick reminder to everybody that we're also streaming the program to YouTube. We're also recording the show, just so everybody's aware. Please feel free again to use the chat functionality throughout the show. And also don't forget to use the Q&A panel that's available for all of you for any questions, comments that you might like to make in regards to the presentation. And of course, we look forward to answering as many of those questions as possible at the end of the show. A quick few seconds silence and we'll start today's show. And
Go get him, Alan.
Well, welcome everybody to another 30-minute talks, and thank you again from wherever you are in the world for joining us. We absolutely appreciate your time in joining the show, your support of the show, and we hope, as we said before, that everybody's keeping safe and well no matter where you are in the world. And welcome Professor Hobson from Malaysia. Hi, Perry.
Well, good afternoon. It's a lovely day again here in Malaysia, but I've had a very busy week. So I've been zooming around the world. In the old days before COVID, I used to actually get on things called aeroplanes. Don't know if some of you remember those things. Now I just get to go virtually. So this last week I've been virtually in India. So I was speaking at Amity University in India on their conference on the new normal. And so that went very well. And so that was a great experience. And this morning I've been in Vietnam speaking at the ISEF 2020 conference on from over-tourism to no tourism and the impact. So that's what I've been up to here. So not just been in Malaysia, I've been virtually some other parts of the world, Alan.
Thanks, Perry. So with us today, is it you or is it virtually you?
It's still the real me. I've yet to replace myself, but I'm working on a chatbot.
Thanks. What about yourself, Dr. Andy?
And I'm happy to have, this is our 32nd program, and we're very happy to have John with us today. And John is in Poland, so I'm half Polish, so I was very happy to hear John was going to join us today, and that's an exciting thing. I've only been to Poland once. It was a wonderful experience. I was in Warsaw and a couple other places, but that was a long time ago, so I have to come visit John again in the future pretty soon, I hope.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Andy, and welcome, as Andy's just said, John. Thank you very much for joining us again. Thank you again for being an academic partner, and we look forward to your presentation. Please say hello to everybody.
Pleasure, gentlemen. Wish I could be there with you on face-to-face, but we'll take this for now.
Fantastic. Thank you, John. We look forward to the presentation shortly. And let's now formally thank our academic partners. Perry, why don't you start off by thanking some of our academic partners. Of course, we know the show would not be around without the support of the academic partners.
Absolutely, Alan. And I must say, we are great debt to our academic partners, and again, students who are enrolled with our academic partners can get certificates. So I'm just going to start off with UNLV, the Harar College of Hospitality, our friends, the PATA Philippines chapter, with Asia Pacific CRE, and of course HOSCO, which is where our presenter has come from today. And not forgetting my colleagues at Sunway University here in Malaysia.
Thank you very much, Perry. And we, as we did last week, I think what we'll do is spread up the thank you of the academic partners throughout the show. And so we'll come back to that slide a little bit later on, everybody. But again, thank you very much for the kind support and the continued support of our academic partners through 33 shows today. And as has become a little bit customary with the 30-minute talks, we have a 90-second segment. And today, I'm presenting a 90-second segment that I prepared for last week's show. As for those of you that attended, knew that we had a few technical issues, but very relevant, and I think a very good follow-up to not only last week, but maybe even a bit of a prelude to today's show. So yeah, 90 seconds. Welcome to another 90 seconds, presented by myself, Alan Williams. Today I'm going to consider domestic tourism as a strategy for post-COVID-19 recovery, by sharing with you some of the ideas recently published by the UNWTO in their briefing note, Understanding Domestic Tourism and Seizing Its Opportunities. In 2018, an estimated 9 billion domestic overnight visitors were recorded around the world, of which well over 50% were in the Asia-Pacific region. Domestic tourism, by definition, comprises the activities of a resident visitor within the country of reference. In OECD countries, spending on domestic tourism is 3 times the amount generated from inbound tourism, Many of these countries are now recognising that increase in domestic tourism offers significant opportunities to restart tourism post-COVID-19. The promotion of domestic tourism is in many cases the first step to restart tourism. In Australia, this is expected to be followed by initiatives intended to attract international tourists, most likely in the first instance from within the travel bubbles that Australia is seeking to establish. Financial incentives are amongst the most common measures adopted by many countries to stimulate domestic tourism. For example, the government of Thailand announced it will subsidise 5 million nights of a hotel accommodation at 40% of the normal room rates, with certain caps on the room rate and maximum spend. The second most common strategy is developing domestic marketing and promotional campaigns. For example, in New Zealand, citizens are encouraged to do something new, New Zealand, and the government has allocated 1 million New Zealand dollars for this domestic campaign. Here's a quick preview.
Plateau Hut is one of the most beautiful spots in New Zealand, and that's on my to-do list.
Go in a forest and see kiwis.
Taking them to the snow, that would be magical.
I want to go to Rotorua to see those mud pools.
There are a number of additional case studies contained in the UNWTO report. I would encourage you to consider these to help kickstart tourism post-COVID-19 by seizing on the many domestic tourism ideas and opportunities available. Thank you for watching another 90 seconds. And there we go, the 90 seconds that we ran last week. I think that's a little bit of an idea about the importance of domestic tourism versus international tourism, and that domestic tourism might be seen as one way in which we might rebound from the COVID-19, or in fact, rebound after COVID-19. But I guess we've mentioned many times before, the view is that COVID-19 is going to be around for a while yet. Any thoughts on that, Perry or Andy?
Yeah, I think it's very common for many people in their own country not to take advantage of their own attractions. I grew up in New York, and I never went to the Empire State Building until I came back after college and after a few years. So you know, take advantage of those things that you have, and by doing that, you're supporting your local industry. Very important these days.
Yes, absolutely, Alan. I agree with that. I think this gives an opportunity to do things more locally. I think in many cases, people are overlooking the local attractions just because something was further away, it just seemed more exciting to go to, etc. And, you know, we've got to think more environmentally here longer term as well. But I think we need to support local industries. And I think what you've seen there from the ads in New Zealand, Thailand, different countries are rolling out different campaigns. So for many destinations, this is a good way of keeping people employed, keeping the industry going while we wait for this vaccine to roll out, and hopefully get things moving again internationally.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Perry and Andy. And I think that's a nice segue into introducing John, who's our guest speaker from HOSCO today, because John might even have a view on you know, applying for jobs, whether that be virtually or in person, and where most of those jobs are no longer offshore, but in your own country of residence. And there's plenty of opportunity available in your own, as much opportunity available in most cases in your country of residence as what there might be offshore. So on that note, John, thank you very much again for joining us, and we look forward to your presentation, helping you prepare for the recovery with upskilling, connections, jobs, and online learning. Just a bit of background for everybody on John. He's a director of development for HOSCO, and HOSCO is the world's largest hospitality network. And John's been known to Perry and Andy and myself for some time now through the ICE connections, and many of you would know, and many of your institutions are members of the ICE. HOSCO's network and all of the online courses, learning resources, jobs and connections and students and alumni that they have, that's what John will be speaking to us about today. But he's also going to be specifically sharing some thoughts about providing you some best practices on tips on boosting your digital profiles and your personal brand, which in this day and age is absolutely critically important. And then John will also present a little bit about HOSCO's new relationship with Lobster Inc. that makes their award-winning and widely adopted online industry training resources available to hospitality schools. And I'm not sure if your school's using those resources, but you might be, and those of you that are not, this might be an interesting presentation for you. Lobster Inc. training has been adopted by over 1 million registered learners in some of the world's leading hospitality brands across 140 countries. So that it's around the world already. But more about HOSCO and Lobster Link through John's presentation. John, welcome.
Thank you, guys. Great to be here. And like I said, keep this up. I think it's a great tool for everyone to have to keep up to date with the latest trends. Yeah.
Thank you. And on that note, if you'd like to load up your presentation, and we look forward to sharing it with you. Thanks very much.
Let's get rolling. Okay. Let me just share my screen, or let me not share my screen, actually. I'll just say hi first. Hi, everybody. I'm John Lohr, as Alan mentioned, Director of Development with HOSCO, the Hospitality Network. I've been doing this for over 5 years, helping HOSCO build up pretty much from ground zero. And it's allowed me to get to know wonderful gentlemen like Alan, like Perry, like Dr. Andy, but also to get to know people like you. I've given lots of virtual presentations to the classrooms of our partner schools. We have a couple different associations. And look, I'm not an academic. I'm an industry guy, but I work in the world of academia because of the partner schools we have at HOSCO. We're over 400 of them. So for today, I really want to focus on what we do best, which is connecting talents with employers. You are a talent, an employer is an employer. And to do that, we've built the platform, which is HOSCO, which, by the way, stands for Hospitality Connection, HOSCO, in case you forget. Yeah. And so look, over 7 years, we've been helping talents connect with employers. Currently, there are 1.5 million hospitality talents, which are made up from over 50 countries around the world. You can find students from hospitality schools, professionals in the industry, managers in the industry, really the whole myriad of hospitality on HOSCO. But you can also find a whole lot of employers. And yes, I know right now it's a very difficult time. But trust me, the employers are putting their own mise en place into place. And from the employer perspective, it's about planning for the recovery, just as much as it's planning recovery for you. Employers on HOSCO are making sure you know their brand and you're thinking about this area or this company when the recovery comes. Because I'm sure you'll probably see, and probably Alan and Perry and Dr. Andy have talked about it before, we anticipate a massive hiring boom as soon as there is a sure path to recovery happening around the world. And that basically means, as I like to say, as an American, you can write your own ticket, right? You will have so many options available because there will be demand up to wazoo, as we say, yeah? But the question is how are you gonna be preparing for that great recovery? And that's, I think, where we come into play. We wanna help you create a digital profile, have your digital CV in a hospitality exclusive network. So you can network with people all around the world, whether they're Filipino, Malaysian, Swiss, or anybody, so that you can find jobs directly, but more importantly, so you can also research companies. I'm not talking about just where we started and what we do. I'm talking about the DNA of a company. Get to know the company, what they're looking for, who works there, and maybe even members on HOSCO who can help you get that job, right? And finally, we had created a new program on HOSCO, which is courses. So you'll be able to actually look for short courses or full-time bachelor and master programs all in one space without going website. So without further ado, I'm just going to present you a couple brief slides. So a little bit of PowerPoint, sorry. And I'm going to show you some trends we've seen from our employers on when they think the hiring process really will come back. Then I'm going to just jump right into the network. So apologies for jumping from page to page, but I'm just going to show you HOSCO. I think the best thing is just to walk you through the platform and how you can use it. So now I will start my presentation, if you will. Yeah, just a moment. So 3, 2, 1, and here we go. So as I said, HOSCO is a global hospitality network. Our vision is to empower hospitality industry by connecting, inspiring, providing opportunities for all its professionals all around the world. Yeah. This is a global network. We're bringing the best hospitality schools, talents, and employers together in one online space. And frankly, that had never been done before. 7 or 8 years ago, when we started this thing out of Geneva, Switzerland, we found that there were groups on Facebook and groups on LinkedIn, but no dedicated network. And as we're one of the biggest employers in the entire world, it's probably good to have a dedicated network. Yeah. So HOSCO is for people who are global, who have a passion for hospitality, and who understand the value of networking, right? So we got 1.5 million activated people on HOSCO. We get 600,000 visits per month. And again, before crisis, we had 260,000 monthly active users. Of course, that number's come down a little bit because people are hesitant about thinking that they're jobs. But when they come back, we expect these numbers to be at the level and if even higher on the network, right? So I talked about data, and I think data is important because it puts things in perspective. Let's talk about a little bit of data, which we gathered through something called the Hospitality Pulse. The Pulse is something you can find on HOSCO, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Well, we asked some questions. We said, recruitment predictions. When do you plan or expect to hire again? And keep in mind, we did this through April, May, and June. And then we topped it off in September, which I'll show you in a moment. But overall, remember, back in these times, 38% of respondents expected to reactivate their recruitment plan during this year. Well, I believe it's November of this year, and I know that's not happening. And that's understandable because the industry has adapted with the data available. Even on our end at Hosco, we thought this will be a 6-month issue and everything will be back to normal. And it's not, right? Now we're seeing that the pushback of recruitment predictions is coming into Q2 of 2021. And hopefully that stays and it does move into Q3, Q4. Again, with the presence of the vaccine, which you know is now being rolled out, confidence is coming back, but things can change, as we all know, right? So the question is when do you plan or expect to hire again? The latest data says now from around 100 plus employers who responded to us, Q2 of 2021. Yeah. Headcount recovery. When do you expect to reach a normal headcount pre-outbreak regular operations and team volume? Well, 22% by the end of June said they believe that they'll regain their headcount in 2020. But again, we're at the end of 2020. So now it's looking into Q1 of 2022. Now, don't let that scare you because headcount doesn't necessarily mean the same positions, right? It just meant that where we would get from where we came from. But this pandemic is also showing new opportunity, new positions being quickly created in the industry as well. But it done again just goes to show that the industry is reacting to the latest data. And like I said, this is all called Hospitality Pulse data, and it can be found on Hosco. So what the companies told us is their clear priorities are financial management, staying afloat, workforce engagement, making sure their people still love and with their company, even if they are furloughed in some cases, and workforce health and safety, and especially making sure government groups are lobbied to ensure that funding and support is given to people when they need it. But that does vary government to government and country to country. So we know the industry is a bit on pause, but we know it's going to come back. So where's Hosco come in? Well, we believe that we are hospitality and we're your best partner for your career. So let's just ask a question. Why would you join Hosco? Well, you would join us to find internships and jobs. If you're looking for an internship, you're looking for a full-time position after graduation, we have a lot of offers. Yeah. Pre-COVID-19, we had 40,000 offers available. And we expect that number to be back even more so when the recovery comes. But it's not just about finding a job. We are not a job board, right? We're not just a set it and forget it, add your CV and be done. We're a community. We're a community of global hospitality professionals. We're also micro communities of your own nationality, for example, or your own students, alumni from your own school. So when you join Hosco, you belong to these subsets of communities. And after graduation, you have access to that alumni community because that is the networking aspect that uniquely is applied on Hosco compared to a general job site, right? Networking like a boss, right? It's about making sure you connect with the like-minded people with a common denominator, and people who can probably help you out. But in order to know who's going to help you out, you have to know where they are, who they're working for. You can do that on Hosco. I'll show you in a moment. And finally, we want to help you stay updated. We want to give you, just as 30 Minutes is doing, new advice, new trends, and also a bit of data, like I've shown you with the Hospitality Pulse. Yeah. These are all reasons why you should join Hosco, essentially. Yeah. But in the end, it's all about you and you succeeding in your career. So let's help you nail your profile and start networking, like I said, like a boss. So I'm going to now stop this presentation and I'm just going to show you Hosco, right? So when you join, you create a digital profile. And digital profiles are probably something you've seen before on LinkedIn and other places. But ours is very hospitality specific. It's going to ask you about a myriad of things, but it's going to go into the typical things like about me, your experience, your education. As you can see, this is my lovely profile here, but there's a little guide on it. We have a little ticker, if you will. We help you make sure you get to 100% all-star status, if you will, because if you're at an all-star status, it means the right data has been put into your profile. The more data, the more search points. If you just put, I want job, please give me job, and use a random picture of you, you're not going to look that attractive to employers. But if you have 1, professional photo, 2, short but very crisp and attractive about me, which causes them to read more, and 3, you upload all your experience, every little element of that experience gets filtered and categorized in Hosco. So if someone was looking for me, I guess I'm senior management, which is a bit over the top, but we'll call it that. Senior management. So looking for an American who's senior management, who studied in Switzerland, they'll find my profile. So all of this experience is so important to add because it gives you more and more touch points with an employer, right? Same with education, same with skills, the same with languages. So if and when you join Hosco, you'll find the very first thing you'll have to do is create your profile. And I encourage you to do that to as high a degree as possible. Yeah. Then you're going to find that, you know what? Let's say you're Filipino, for example. I love the country Philippines. I have many school partners there, etc. If you're a talent from the Philippines and you join Hosco, you'll belong to a community of Filipino hospitality professionals. There's 10,000 plus on Hosco. But automatically, you also belong to the 1.7 million members on Hosco. If you happen to come from a school then you can also belong to the school community. These become your networks to get known in, right? You can connect with them, you can chat with them as long as they accept your request. Yeah. So now let's talk about jobs. Right now, live, there are 10,000 plus offers on Hosco. So the industry is still hiring. I want to make that very clear. There are still jobs to be had. Now, not at the 40,000 level we were at, but there's still to be had. And the way you apply for a job at Hosco is you don't just see a simple piece of paper, Word document on the screen and apply. You get to know, of course, a job description, but you'll also get to know other jobs the company is providing. You get to know past and current employees of the company, and you can even find members on Hosco who are in the region where the company is located. So they can help you maybe find an apartment, know the best bars or clubs to go to. You have an inside access to all that because the system brings it to you in one shot, right? And you can directly apply as you wish. Yeah, and you also know how attractive the offers are to gauge your competitiveness. So you have jobs on Hosco in all corners of the world. So I encourage you, if you're directly looking for a job, apply. But I think it was very interesting with the survey we gave earlier. You may not be looking for a job right now. You may be looking to plan your job. That's where the company section of Hosco comes in. We have 7,698 company profiles on Hosco. And what that means is before you apply for the job, you can get to know the employer. So as I mentioned, the DNA of the employer, the people of the employer. If, for example, you may be looking to go to the United States, well, we work with an employer that's ITN. They're actually a placement company. And of course, remember, they work with other employers in the United States. But let's get to know ITN. You can see a video from Aston, the CEO, or from Tiffany, the director of operations, and you can get to know the people who went through ITN. Yeah. But if you're looking for general employers, everyone has a profile. Some have more content, some have less, but you get the inside track. And when you do make that job application, you can just say, not say, sir, I want a job, but sir, I know you're opening up 5 new properties in the next six months, and I'm interested in working in this area. Where'd you find out about that? On Hosco. Yeah. That's the companies section. Then, as I mentioned, with the advice section, you're going to find videos, articles, interviews, and the Hospitality Pulse. This is about inspiring you and guiding you. The city guides will give you actual walkthroughs from students from hotel schools. The interviews will get top CEO interviews, which we made ourselves front and center. The inspiration is about that daily dose of hospitality advice in the industry. Yeah. And as I mentioned, here's the Hospitality Pulse. It's much more extensive than what I shared, obviously, but if you want to use that for any of your classrooms, any academic listening, that could be really great, right? Finally, the course section. This is brand new. We just launched it like 3 weeks ago. So it's a way to find bachelor's and master's and short courses, upskilling all in one space. You don't have to go website to website to website, right? So if maybe you're looking for online courses, we have some courses from SHMS Switzerland, part of the Swiss Education Group. If you're a meeting person, you can take an MPI short course, Meeting Event Strategist. MPI is one of the largest associations of meeting professionals in the world. And once again, you don't just look at the course, you look at the school. So if you're maybe thinking of doing a master's in hospitality with our partner in Sampo from Barcelona, get to know the school. You can see the school, about us, you can get to know the community from the school, and you can then make a better decision about going to study, not just based on the program, but based on the people from the program, right? And if you're listening and you're from actually a school in the Philippines or anywhere else, you can, of course, become a Hosco Partner School, which will allow all your students to join, but then you to be able to track those alumni and showcase their success, which is always such a core piece to the marketing and the promotion of a school. Yeah. So I want to end this little presentation about the new partnership we have with Lobster Inc. And as Alan mentioned correctly, they are one of the world's largest training providers. But normally, you could only get their training inside of a hotel. You had to be a staff member. We made a relationship that brings their training out into academia. So it allows for this myriad of courses, which are done at a very high production level, but also done with behavior modification in mind. And remember, this is actual industry training that can come to the classroom. There's 1,450 lessons in multiple languages on Lobster Inc., equaling over 200 hours of learning. And there's a Hallmark library, which covers all major areas: bar and beverage, hospitality, front office, etc. So everything is there. But the question, and this is where I'm going to throw it back to the guys here, is where does it fit in academia? What I have found in speaking to my partner schools is that internships, not only a virtual internship, which can be done through actual training with Lobster Inc. courses, but also internship preparation. Because wouldn't it be nice to go on your internship with skills in hand rather than learning on the site? And wouldn't you give a better impression to that employer by having these verifiable industry skills as you enter the door rather than learned through the job? So Lobster Inc. is a new partnership we have. It is available to schools who would like to purchase subscriptions for their students. We, of course, have very, very reasonable discounts made for all regions of the world. This is not an expensive thing. Basically, $100 a year gives you access to everything. It's like a Netflix subscription, basically. And you have all access for 100 years to 200 plus courses from the best provider to industry. So I think that's quite valuable. Yeah. But I'm going to throw it back to the guys. I'd like to have that discussion on the Lobster Inc., the fit into academia, and what the future holds for virtual training and internship. Thank you all very, very much for listening to me. Please, if you want to join Hosco, it's completely free. And for the school partners who are interested in being a Hosco partner, get in contact with me. Guys, back to you.
Well, John, thank you very much. What a great overview of not only what Hosco does, but Lobster Inc. and all the add-ons. Absolutely astonishing and much bigger network than I thought it might have been. Something something that you didn't cover there for me is costs to students, and I know you probably
free.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I thought. It's important to know to students that it's free. So
of course, it's like LinkedIn or Facebook. You join, it's completely free. Yeah.
Fantastic. There you go. So that shouldn't be a reason why people don't join up. That's what we're saying, right?
Yeah, not at all.
Great. You started.
I think you're saying.
Sorry, Perry, go on.
No, I just thought that the obviously the free things is a very interesting angle there, and a very important angle for students who don't have much money and in challenging times. But that community, I think, was the interesting thing to pick up on, John, because a lot of the time it's just you're posting something and then nothing much ever happens from that. But it's building that community, as we've tried to do across 30-minute talks. We've now got a whole range of different institutions who are members. So can you tell me a little bit more about how that community interactions tends to actually work in Hosco?
Yeah, so when you join, let's say you're from a partner school, you're automatically part of the partner school community composed of students and alumni, right? But then based on your profile, you're automatically put into other common denominators, right? If you search for Americans, you'll find Americans, you'll find Johnny, right? If you search for Swiss graduates from Lyon, Switzerland, you'll find Johnny, right? And so you can search at any time. And then if I don't know Perry, just like LinkedIn, Perry, you want to connect? Yes, I agree. We can chat back and forth virtually. We can share ideas together. You can maybe help me get that job, and maybe you want to help me because you're a fellow alumni from my school, and we all like to help each other out who we have these connections with,
Right.
John, you talked about I like the one chart where people are still hiring people, but do you think there's going to be a pent up demand for travel when this is all over? The whole world is going to want to get back on the road. So what can students do to sort of position themselves to be ready for that? You mentioned virtual internships. I think that's what, describe how they can use a virtual internship to be ready for that first job when the dam opens up and everyone's going to be running around trying to travel again.
Well, virtual internship is a tough thing to say because it's sometimes not the student who's in charge of that. It's the university, right? Or it's the department. And if they don't have providers who give virtual internships, they can't give it to their students. So, what I can say from a resource perspective, if a school goes on to Hosco, you can reach out to those 7,000 employers and say, hey, are you offering virtual internships? Can my students assist? And I think that the pandemic, one of the silver linings is it's brought it to the forefront. That was a pretty sideline item of virtual internship. Now it's commonplace. It's anything data entry, marketing, general sales. As long as you don't have to be in front of a guest or in a facility, you can do it virtually, right? What Lobster Inc. comes in is about, does taking training tick the box of the requirement of virtual internships? Is taking actual industry training from Lobster Inc. the same as having that on-site experience? Now, let's just say from a perspective, no, it's not. But it is better than nothing, right? It does give you actual training, gives you this experiential learning. And if you ever go through the Lobster Inc. programs, you'll see they're highly interactive. It's not just me talking in a PowerPoint in the background, right? These are done at very high production value. So the schools I've spoken to thus far have said, can we, A, replace the internship with Lobster Inc. just now because, hey, we can't find them for our kids? Or B, can we make Lobster Inc. a normal preparatory course for students going on internship or for students who are about to graduate? And that's the exciting discussion which is now happening in academia, which before couldn't happen. It was only available to hotels, you know?
It certainly seems like you've opened up a world of opportunity there, not only for HOSCO, but also for Lobster Inc. And you're also opening up a couple of key points here that are initiating some good questions. So we've got a question here. Has there been any increase in optimism since the positive vaccine news? So what's your thoughts in HOSCO since they've, there's been a couple of vaccines that have recently been announced, and what's your view?
Well, it's been extreme positivity and optimism in HOSCO, but we also have to keep reality in place, right? We know that just having a vaccine doesn't mean it's going to get to every corner in all parts of the world, right? But it does show a glimmer of hope. And therefore, the employers, let's just say, can take that next step of actually planning for recovery. I think that everybody, from myself to employers, were completely on hold from budgets and from planning because they didn't have a clue what was coming. Now that they know it's happening, next steps are being taken. Next actions are being implemented. So yes, I think it's given a good bit of hope, but I still believe that from a full hiring recovery perspective, we're still looking into Q4 2021. Yeah.
John, one more question. You mentioned when they filling out your profile online, you have 100% all-star status.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to create a good profile? What kind of photo do they need? What kind of resume should they put on there? What kind of statement, what's some tips you can give them when they start to fill out that form?
Sure. I mean, when they go and fill out the form, there's a bot, right? There's a teacher. It'll say, hey, why don't you add this? Why don't you add that? So it'll guide you how to get to all-star status. But measurable things, right? We all know that you don't want to just say, I worked at the Hilton, but when did you work for the Hilton? What position did you have? What responsibilities were under that? So the system kind of calculates on how much measurable information has been given, right? As we know, that's really important in CVs. Picture-wise, I know it sounds cliche, but I still believe that people should have a professional photo, maybe even suit and tie. Yes, the industry has changed somewhat, but majority is still conservative, and they don't want to see this photo. They want to see a professional who looks the part before they have the part, right? So I know a lot of my partner schools actually bring in professional photographers to take photos of their students to make sure they do have that look and feel.
Can a student put in their student experiences, or like maybe a big project they worked on in school if they don't have that work experience?
Yeah, there's an other section, or you could add, the experience is relative, right? So they could say student, and they could say projects completed. So you can customize your profile as you wish. And important to note, if you have a CV in a different language, you can upload that. Think of your profile like your file cabinet. You can add other CVs in different languages. So when the employer looks at you, he can also see those other CVs automatically. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of flexibility there. And I guess there's one more question that says, once again, how is this different from LinkedIn?
Yeah. No, it's very simple. It's hospitality specific. LinkedIn is great. LinkedIn is necessary. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn daily, but if you're looking for a hospitality specific network, LinkedIn isn't it. In fact, LinkedIn probably has a pushback against hospitality, because compared to everything else, which LinkedIn, if you kind of understand LinkedIn's business model, it's about businesses, right? Well, the businesses hiring people hire at, pretty expensive level salaries. And we don't work our business like that. So LinkedIn focuses on the big businesses of the world. We focus on hospitality employers. Our employers, to post a job on HOSCO, have to pay an annual subscription. And they say how many jobs I want to post or how much access do I want to the network. But that's why we make it completely free for the members, because we don't want to inhibit the real value, which is what the employer is looking for, the talents. So the answer to the question is hospitality specific. You have a community, and you can also find those new courses as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really key, noting that it is industry specific, hospitality industry specific, and that's absolutely a key difference. And Christina, who's one of our long-term supporters, one of long-term friends, no doubt you know Christina as well, John. Will there be a future for tourism and hospitality students given the current challenges in tourism due to COVID? How can we prepare students for future work?
Nope, pack it up, close, we're done. Of course there's a future. Of course there's a future. I mean, the future is going to be bright, but it's going to be different. I think you've probably talked about before. My feeling, the disruption that will happen will be in business class hotels, because Zoom has proven we can do this. We don't need to fly and have our coffee. We don't need to have our conference room meeting, at least in the beginning, right? So MICE, I think, will be back even more so because of the pent-up demand, but I think business travel will be affected. And if business travel is affected, we're gonna have to think about the business hotels would normally hire those employees. Will they go to more linear models of making sure there's less employees and more technology? And if they go to more technology, what are the schools doing to prepare students not in just giving the service, but knowing the systems that will be used for the service, right? So in my opinion, I think we need to have a heavy promotion and push onto hospitality technologies of the future, and giving the students courses in that and training in that, moving far beyond the operas and the PMSs and more into the new ways of checking in, new ways of door key codes, everything, you know?
And so I guess a specific question that I might have for you there is, does Lobster Inc. have those types of courses that you're talking about, focusing on technology, focusing on emerging trends in the industry? And would that be something that you'd be encouraging?
Yeah. They have some, but the unique thing about Lobster Inc. is, like, they have PCR compliance, knowing how to handle the credit cards, and they have the operating systems. But Lobster Inc. is an open source platform in a sense. So for example, if an employer around the world says, I want you, Lobster Inc., to make training for my internal employees, Lobster Inc. will say, okay, do you want to have it just for yourself, or can everyone else have it? And that also, I think, gets down to a price or something. And they say, no, everyone else can have it. So then you make it for, let's say, Jumeirah Group, but then everyone else gets it. So all the new courses are coming into that subscription. Again, just like Netflix. When Fox puts out a new movie or Paramount puts out a movie, we all have access to it. Lobster Inc. is the same. So I cannot say right now they have those brand new technology programs on it, but I know they're creating it with the industry partners, right? And then everyone who has a subscription will have access to that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Perry, have you got any closing comments or questions for John?
Turn your mic on, Perry.
No sound, Perry.
There we go.
I've got a, hello, Alan? Can you hear me? Sorry, you're frozen. Ah, I'm back. Okay, good. No, I just had seen a bit of an unstable connection today. John, perhaps you could just run through the, one of the, I think is come up again and again. I'm just reading through some of the questions in the Q&A that's come up here. It said, do you think there are particular skills that are now needed applying for a job amidst the pandemic? What are the chances of being hired? Mm-hmm. So I was just wondering if you've got any thoughts.
Yeah, you're breaking up a bit there, Perry, but I caught it. I think that goes to the overall discussion around upskilling and credentialing and micro certifications. And I believe that that is the quickest way to make the change, right? Not everyone can go and do another bachelor's or another master's, so you can upskill. So one, heavy focus on health and safety. If you can come in and say, I have taken training on health and safety, I understand COVID-19 regulations, every single employee in the hotel is going to have to know that kind of thing, right? And so you're coming in just with an extra advantage. And I would highly encourage any of the academics listening to get those courses into the programs. Yes, Lobster Inc. has some because they're actually owned by Ecolab, the largest health and training provider in the world, right? But that's going to be critical. And I think it's also a unique touch point and talking point for the students, right? Sir, I know the pandemic is we'll say the vaccine's out there, but it's still an issue. We all need to have health and safety training. So I've taken this course. simple certification, but bam, there it is, right? So health and safety is going to be one thing. But another thing I think is going to be really the human element. I strongly believe that hospitality employers or employees will be seen in a different light after the pandemic, because they're not just giving a service, they're giving a comfort and a safety. We never thought about employees actually looking after our health. We really never did, didn't we? We thought, housekeeping cleans the rooms and it's fine. Every single employee is thinking about, was this surface clean? Was this guest checked in properly? Was the restaurant cleaned the right way? And the guests now know that. It's visual in the way they present things. This table was just clean. And it's visual in how the employee's wearing a mask. And it's visual in the company policies before you check in. So health and safety, that's just going to be my single point, but the most important point. Get those courses, single short courses on your CV.
Very good.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your thoughts, John. And I think absolutely extremely relevant to our audience and to the people that join us every week for 30-minute talks. Can I take this opportunity again just to thank you very much for a very interesting presentation, very informative presentation, thought-provoking, because there's been a number of questions come through that we've been dealing with quite nicely. Any closing comments from yourself, Andy?
Yeah, I know. I agree. It was an excellent presentation, and for me, I learned a lot about Hosco too. I know I've been aware of it, but since I'm retired, I don't really look for jobs anymore. So,
Andy, you can join. There's academics there too. Why not?
that's a scary crowd to hang around with. So these around with these boys here, but we enjoy having people who are in the industry, and I think it's good for you that bring that academic and the industry together. And I think it's a great platform for our students and for the academics too.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
What about
like I said, all the students listening. Yeah.
Thanks, John. I know Perry has got a bit of lag. Perry, are you with us or not?
I'm fine. It's just coming and going very badly today. It feels like something in the wind. But anyway, yeah, so suddenly it's all come clear again, which is great. But no, John, thanks very much for sharing. I think for many students, this is a very challenging time. There are so many new opportunities out there. As you said, there are some silver linings to COVID. We had a show a couple of weeks ago where we were focusing on virtual internships. And I think that also gave some great insights into the opportunities and the variety of those virtual internships. So I think for many students, there are other options out there than we may have ever thought about before. So thanks again so much for coming on the 30-minute talks and sharing that with our community. Thanks again.
Thanks very much, Perry. And on that note, everybody, give John a great virtual round of applause. Thank you very much, John. And let's move on. We've got a few more things to finish up the show today. Don't leave us, John. Stick around. We've got a few more minutes to go. And just as we walk through the remainder of the show, Andy, can we just thank, as we know, academic partners who are a very important part of our show?
We always like to thank the University of Santo Tomas, one of our earliest partners, Sunway University, LPU. And LPU is responsible for a lot of things in helping the program. And one issue that we need to let everybody know is the certificates this week will be a little bit of a delayed as we've had a little technical issue. So again, the certificates from last week will be coming out. Just be patient. Our friends at NKUHT, they're having an event this weekend, and we'll be promoting that on our flyer where they're having a conference. Joji Iligan in Davao, and of course the Tourism Industry Board Foundation, Inc., some of our many academic partners. And Perry, you want to do that first row and thank a few of those again?
I can't. The screen has just gone, so I'm going to leave you to read them off. Sorry.
Okay, I'll take it over for you, Perry. Thank you also to COREP, the Council of Hotel and Restaurant Educators of the Philippines, Silver Mountain School of Hotel Management, the University of the Bahamas, and our friend Vic down there, the ICE, the International Centre of Excellence in Tourism and Hospitality Education, and of course, Shidler College of Business, the School of Travel Industry Management from the University of Hawaii, Manoa. Once again, everybody, thank you very much to all of our academic partners. I'm hoping that we've covered everybody off. I don't think we've forgotten anybody. And again, thank you to Hosco and John, who's presented today. Andy, as always, we've prepared a number of shows in advance, and this is our show for next week. Can you give us a little bit of an introduction to Professor Mushtaq?
Yeah, we're looking forward to next week. Professor Mushtaq is one of our old friends. Perry and I worked with him for several years in Malaysia, and he is now the provost and CEO of Heriot Watt University, a famous university in Malaysia. And he is an excellent, excellent speaker. He's written 3 books. He gives YouTube presentations, and when I do the advertisement this week, I'm going to link one of his YouTube presentations on the flyer so you can watch him in action before the show next week. And he's going to talk about 30-minute history of human jobs. And he's an engineer, so it's a unique twist on how we view work. So I know next week is going to be a wonderful presentation and one not to miss.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dr. Andy. And I think that's a great follow-up to today's presentation. And as you say, one not to miss. And next week, and our certificates of attendance. Andy, do you want to talk that through as well? I know Perry's got a few challenges with his connection.
Yeah, Alan, actually, the certificate is always, we want everyone to complete their certificates, but we need you to provide 3 key learnings. And actually right now you can see that there's a QR code on there and you can use that to access it. And I'm going to get you a copy of the link, which I'll put into the chat box on the next slide. So Alan, why don't you go through a couple of those things while I find that for everyone?
Absolutely. Thanks, Andy. Don't forget that as with every week after the show, we run basically the opportunity for all of you to complete the survey. So if you haven't yet participated in one of the surveys, what you need to do is tell us the 3 key learnings from today's program. And as John has presented a whole number of thoughts about HOSCO, the future of work in the industry, the networking in the industry, your personal brands, all those sorts of things. There's a number of key learnings that I've taken from today already. Please share with us your learnings from today's program. Fill out the survey and qualify for one of our certificates of attendance. And usually, as we've mentioned already, the certificate takes about 7 days to get to you. There may be a few delays this week because of the technical challenges, but believe us, we know how important these certificates are to you, so they will not be forgotten. The QR code is there, and as Dr. Andy has already mentioned, it'll also be shared for you in the chat function in Zoom today.
Yep, I just put it in a chat function, and get those certificates done, please.
Fantastic. So there it is. Use what you learn to improve yourself and our industry from 30-minute talks. So on that note, everybody, thank you very much again for joining 30-minute talks, another edition. And Perry, why don't you say goodbye?
Well, yeah, again, thanks very much for joining us. Thanks very much, John, again. It's been great having you on the show. Thanks so much for sharing, talking about that community approach to HOSCO and the availability of those resources through LobSync. That's, I think, great information for students to know about and the opportunities of virtual exchange. I'm really looking forward to hearing from my former colleague, Professor Mushtaq, next week. As Andy said, he's written a number of books. One of my favorite ones is Shoot the Boss.
Looking forward to that too. Dr. Andy, why don't you say goodbye?
We'll be promoting that next week. And you could also stop by our website, 30minutetalks.com, and there's a list. You can register there. So it's easy for you to register now if you want to register. And we appreciate John coming all the way from Poland to join us today. And it was a great show and very informative. And we had I know there was an internet provider power outage in the Philippines, so a lot of people might have not been able to show today. So there will be a copy on our website, and we always have a copy on YouTube too. So for those people, tell your friends they can watch the show on those to get that information that John provided today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Andy. And John, why don't you say goodbye to our participants for today?
Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to share HOSCO. If you have any other questions, you go to hosco.com. That's where you can, of course, register for HOSCO. And if you are an academic listening with a hotel, school, or department of hospitality, you can reach me at john@hosco.com. We can talk about HOSCO membership for your school. We can talk about Lobster Inc. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Best of luck and stay positive. The recovery is coming. Yeah.
Thanks very much, John, and thanks again for your participation. And once again, everybody, thank you very much for joining another edition of 30-Minute Talks. The only addition that I'd like to make is multi-skilling. I think the future workforce will also be very multi-skilled. Make sure you're keeping safe, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you from myself, Alan Williams. Goodbye, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.